Welcome to the Speak Up Talk Radio Network. I am your hostess, Pat Rulo. We bring you hand-selected hosts, podcasts, and talk radio programming with listening options, 24/7 streaming or listen on demand. We also feature one-on-one segments with important guests, people who have something to say that you need to hear. And if you have something to say and would like to be featured on the network, please visit speakuptalkradio.com for all of the details or contact us at pr@speakuptalkradio.com. Well, I have another fine author interview today, and let me introduce him. He is Ian Worrell. Ian lives in Nova Scotia, Canada. He enjoys training in martial arts, playing drums, has recently taken up archery as a hobby, and he is one of the biggest Iron Maiden fans ever. Working different jobs with a dream of writing and publishing a novel, his book, No Remorse No Regret, is his first novel. And we are about to find out more. So welcome to the network, Ian.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I was looking forward to you today. I found a lot of helpful hints and tips on your website, and I'm sure others will as well. The homepage features fairly consistently written posts that you share tips on the craft of writing. Just give us a little peek into that.
Basically, I just like to write. I'll sometimes take some writing books that I use, and I use some exercises from that, and I'll give my own sort of take on it, and how to create some original stories, original characters, anything else like that. Like today, I just came out with the post story formula, which basically there's different types of ways you can write this formula. Like the first one I would mention is it's like the hero's journey, where they follow the typical act structure and stuff like that. And so I said, how to make a formula, make stories sound original, would be you take the person who it's challenged by their events, the plot of the story is the events, and the story is about a person who is challenged by the events, their flaw, or character flaw, or something. They're challenged by the events of the story, and they either overcome it or they fail. So you can also, one way to do it, follow the journalism, the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, why, and how. That's one way I'll come up with writing stories and stuff.
See, that probably helps you to read and then write about it as well. Not only does it help your website visitors, but I would imagine that it helps you to learn and retain that additionally.
Yes, yeah.
Well, maybe if we have time later on, you can share a few more of your top tips, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
All right. Let's talk about your book, No Remorse, No Regret. It's a book about a female contract killer. So where did that come from?
Well, I wanted to do a revenge story, and a lot of the revenge stories are if you see the Neeson movie Taken, there's always some sort of special forces guy, a covert spy, or a male character whose wife or daughter or something gets kidnapped or something, and so he mows down all the bad guys single-handedly. So I wanted to have the story from, instead of having it always the male character, have a female character revenge. So she was kidnapped by a serial killer, accidentally rescued by a Russian mafia head who trains her in hand-to-hand combat and weapons and everything. So she takes out revenge on men that abuse women and stuff, and also takes out enemies of the man that rescued her. It was mainly to try to come up with a different take on the revenge story tropes.
That's interesting. And so as a male writing from a female perspective, how was that for you?
It's a little challenging, as women see things differently than men do, but a lot of it's just you read books on the women on I'm trying to remember the book. It was on the screenwriting book. It was basically how the women characters are different from men and stuff like that. There's the woman in the story, I think it was. The woman in the story is basically how to do by Helen J.C. and Linda Sager. And the women in the story, how to write memorable female characters and stuff like that. So that's how you come up with the story. How to come up with a female take on the characters.
It reminds me of a gentleman I interviewed once who also wrote a story from the female perspective. And when I asked him about that, he said, "Oh, he signed up for a all women's writing class and told his wife that it was for research." I said, "Yeah, right." So, however, you can get that perspective, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, you gave us just a tiny little taste. Maybe give us a little bit more, no spoilers or anything, but just talk a little bit more about the plot of the book.
Well, she goes through the police eventually got onto her through this through one of the killings that she does. One of the guys who attacked a couple of children when he was younger, and so she also the same day that she took out an attacker, an enemy of the man that rescued her. So there's also go through like a gang war between the Russian mafia and another organized crime group, and so there's also a corrupt police officer who was a mole in the police department for the Russians and everything. So the police are trying to track the serial killer as well as the contract killer as well. The contract killer or the serial killer is trying to find Melissa, the one that got away from her, that accidentally survived the rampage that he went on 10 years previously in the book.
Now, did you have to do much research to complete this?
There's a lot of research on different types of like the criminal element, like how police investigate crimes. Two of my bosses are former RCMP officers, so they were able to get insight on that and like the different type of guns that somebody would use, like the Tavor. Have her using a Tavor sniper rifle as opposed to a 50 caliber sniper rifle for some things, because a smaller person would be overwhelmed by the power of a large rifle.
Right.
Plus you also, if you get beta readers and you go through different, they tell you what's the good points and the bad points and where you need to strengthen the book.
Well, let's talk about beta readers for a moment. So you had a group of folks who pre-read this for you. And so the feedback, how was that to receive the feedback? Was it easy to make the changes? Did you feel resistant to make changes? Let's talk about that process.
No, you can't be resistant to make the changes because beta readers are doing you a favor by reading your book for free. And so they're, as opposed to paying to read the book. So you have to be open to their suggestions. And if there's more than one person saying this is where I feel it's weak in the story,
right,
then you have to pay attention to what they're saying, that maybe they've got a point.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be open to their suggestions, open to feedback, open to other people's feedback. Because basically like I said, the beta readers are doing you a favor. They really are hoping you to get your book succeed, and they're hoping you to make your book the best book that you can make it.
You put your heart and soul into something, you think a certain passage is just absolutely wonderful, and then you get people saying, "No, I don't think so."
In some ways, yeah, but one of the things I've also read about is that every famous writer gets a negative feedback. Like if you go on an Amazon listing, look for like Stephen King or insert the name of any other famous, hugely successful author, all of them have few 1-star reviews on Amazon. So.
Sure. No, I get that. It's just as humans, we always tend to dwell on things like that. It's hard to move on. So the title, No Remorse, No Regret. How did you come up with the title?
Well, it's a take on there was a book by Tom Clancy called Without Remorse, and when he did show the beginning of one of his characters, John Clark, that's in his Jack Ryan series. And so I got Without Remorse. So I thought I'd just do a different take on that and have what a character. She had no remorse, no regret for what she did during the story.
Now let's talk about then your cover art. How did that come about?
Well, there was a Fiverr artist called German Creative, and like basically she gave you the link to some pictures, and so I download pictures from Deposit Photos for the book, and the German Creative on Fiverr was able to do up the book cover.
And was that a long process, or you were pretty quick with that?
It was pretty quick. She's generally got it done, I think, in less than a week, if I remember correctly.
Excellent. All right. So that was not an arduous task. What about the publishing process? How did you go about that?
Well, I self-published it on Amazon, so it was just a case of getting the editor, getting editing done, and all you have to do is put it into the self-publishing on Amazon's Kindle, which is then you go through that and you can choose whether you want to do KDP Select, or not, which I have so far. So then a little bit later, you get the print version and put it on Amazon's print-on-demand service, CreateSpace.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank goodness for self-publishing because
Yes.
you can get your work out there a lot faster and move on. So is there going to be a sequel, another book after this?
Yeah, I'm hoping to get the sequel. It's tentatively titled A Second Life. I'm hoping to get it out by summer. It'll be, she's in, I'm not going to give the give the spoiler list because it would tell possibly what happened at the end of the first book, but I'm hoping to get the sequel and hoping to do the whole book and a whole series and stuff like that.
So this is going to be a series?
Yeah, that's the intention. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, now on your website, you also have a free gift.
The website, that was the free gift. That would be the sign up to receive that's what it originally was. And I sign up to receive 2-part short story of Melissa in training. That's the immediate aftermath of when she meets Danil, who is the Russian mafia head that rescued her. And so it's Melissa in training. So it's in between like the prologue of the book and the main body of the book.
Okay.
The events of what happened to it.
Mm-hmm.
So how he trained, it gives about how he trains her and other stuff.
Now, did you have any background in any of this, or is this just completely new for you?
Well, one time I used to work in the film industry before I did security work, and so there was a slowdown that back years ago, so I started doing screenwriting. That wasn't working out, so I decided to try my hand at writing a novel and getting it self-published. With the advent of Amazon's Kindle and everything, makes it a lot easier to get your stuff to market.
Mm-hmm. So are you still working a full-time day job?
Yeah, full-time day job.
Okay, yeah. So you've got to squeeze the writing in when you have time.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about your writing process. How, when, where? How does it happen for you?
Well, for me, it's just generally when you can get the time, because I work shift work. Because today I currently quarter afternoon my time, and if I work tonight at 5 o'clock and go to 1 o'clock this morning, that schedule's pretty solid until the end of March, and then you can go back into the normal shift rotation where you do some days you'd work day shifts, other times you work night shifts, back shifts, and stuff like that, and then you'd have like days off during the week, like 3 or 4 days off during the week. And so during the days that I'm writing, I would probably work you'd probably get maybe an hour writing in, and then days off I would get a lot more writing. I try to get 2 to 4 hours writing stuff that's done. We have a union contract that allows you to have breaks during work, so you can work on little writing exercises during breaks at work.
And so you're still involved with the security business?
Yes. I work security at a university in Nova Scotia.
Okay. So it puts you in a little bit of danger, huh?
Not really, no. It's pretty easy job there, so it's not much danger that we have here.
All right, good. At least your mind is at ease so that you can come up with creative thoughts for your book, right?
Yeah.
That's good. And so do you write at home? Are you one of the kinds that could get out to a coffee shop or be out in public and write, or do you have to have quiet?
I like to have quiet. I write in my home, but generally I can write anywhere. Like sometimes I'll do I'll bring a notebook on me if I have to go to like a dentist or any other appointment, and I know it's going to be a little while, or a car appointment. I can work on a writing task there, right? I'm waiting for like a car to get done or something. Mm-hmm. So basically, it's all about just trying to find my writing process. Is all about trying to find the time and write whenever you can and stuff.
Right. Well, let's talk about your characters and character development. Do you have this all fleshed out ahead of time with spreadsheets where you know everything about these people, what's in the refrigerator, what's in their garbage can, or are you more kind of the seat of your pants writer?
I'd say somewhere in between. Mm-hmm. The first, as most writers, like with the first draft, you're just basically getting to know the characters and stuff like that. So then you can flesh them out. And then after you get the first draft, you can flesh it out characters out later, because you always, on first drafts, like a lot of people will say the first draft of everything is garbage or something, and so you edit it and improve it later to try to make the characters sound different and stuff like that. One way to do it, you give each person a different type of quirk and stuff like that. As you see the March 12th post on the site, the character exercise, is that you would have this for Mickey. It's not an actual character that exists yet, but it's a type of person who would use others to get what he wants, and so you want the character to say that type, like a bad person, you want to get to redeem themselves. But then a little later on, that's how you develop the characters.
So when you're writing these characters, do they take off on their own? Do they become who they want to be? Or do you feel that you're always in control of how you want them to be?
Generally speaking, I would say a little bit of both. Like, say, one of the female characters and one of the female detectives, I wanted to sort of like be a sarcastic type of character, like, you ever saw the Law and Order series, like the Lenny Briscoe character in that series?
Right.
Trying to make her sound like that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like a female version of the Lenny Briscoe character in Law and Order. It's just sort of hard to explain. Sometimes it'll come to you like, hey, this might be a good way to take the character.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you really deliberately writing out like different things. Like one tip I do is write out 10 different ways you can make a character sound different from the other, and then that's one way to do it. And then you pick like the one or two best of those traits to make a character sound different from another one.
Oh, so talk about that for a minute. What are some of the 10 ways to make a character sound different?
Well, one way is like a female or male character would sound different or be different.
Sure.
So obviously, and so does the person, what are the person's interests? Do they like to, are they heavy drinker, or are they smoker, or are they into fitness and stuff like that? And how is a person, that's one trait or something, how you make the character.
That's a very interesting exercise. So that's on your website.
Yeah, it's in there.
Give us your website name.
That's IanWorrellAuthor.com.
Okay, and it's spelled IANWORRALL. IanWorrellAuthor.com. We'll circle back to that in a little bit. What about dialogue? How is that for you to write?
Not too bad. I've done same thing as a lot of other stuff. You always really try to come up with a different way to make the character sound differently. I've used books like this, how to make. There's different books. Like I think it was Marcy Scott or James Scott Bell on how to make stories. Like one of the things I hear is dialogue tips, and it's like you want to. It's how to write dazzling dialogue by James Scott Bell and the Busy Writer's Guide to Dialogue by Marcy Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the couple of books I use. So one of the things you always have is most people don't talk with perfect grammar when they're writing,
right?
When they're talking, so they'll say stuff like ain't or where's it at, and you also know the speech patterns of where you're setting your story.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. And so it's easy to do that when you're for knowing speech patterns of your hometown. But what if you want to set it in a southern town, or so you'd have to ask people. So you would probably approach people on like social media. If you read the dialogue, see whether it sounds authentic to what people would sound there.
So true. Yeah, just different areas in the country. Some people say pop, some say soda, some say Coke. Yeah, you'd have to know all of those things. And I would also imagine consistency, so that every time that person speaks, the reader would think, yes, that is the person speaking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot that goes into it. So, you're mentioning these books. So as you're writing, are you referring to the books, or do you just get it all out there, and then once it's out, then you go back to the books and try to sharpen it?
Basically, would go back to like the books, like on how to improve the dialogue, and then sharpen up the dialogue. That's usually how I would do it.
Okay, so it's probably a good idea to first just get it out of you, right?
Yeah, just get it out of you, and then you improve it, and you find out where it's weak and stuff. And a lot of like the writing books and courses like that are generally really good to help.
You know, as we're talking, I wonder if it's scary to people. It's such almost sounds like an insurmountable thing to write, because a lot of people just feel, I just want to write what I feel and get it out there and not worry about the mechanics. Is that something to be worried about, or is there a case to be made for, hey, just get it out there, make sure that obviously your grammar is correct, but what do you think about that?
I would say you really always want to get your writing to make your book the best that it can be, and so that, because sometimes if your characters all sound the same, you're more likely, that's when, if you're not working and taking effort to make your writing better, that's when you're more likely to end up with more negative reviews than positive reviews.
Yes, yeah. Just interesting. I've interviewed so many authors and I've heard so many points of view that I'm always interested to find out what people think and what they do and why. So you've been giving us a lot of help with that. I appreciate it. So what's your hope for your books? What do you want your readers to come away with? What's your goal?
Just hopefully they enjoy the book and have fun reading it. That's what fiction is about. It's about entertaining people and stuff.
So do you think about the reader as you're writing?
To a point, I'd like to see what they write. I mean, a lot of people would say write the story that you want to write, and then hopefully it'll be other people will like it too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You never know, do you?
No.
You don't. So what about you personally, as you are now a published author? What have you learned about yourself that maybe might surprise you?
Learned that I can basically accomplish a goal that I set my mind to. That's probably the first thing. But plus, there's a surprise that a lot of people actually did enjoy the book or something. It's not just my friends that have said that they enjoyed it. People that I met a couple people in the marketing group said it was a good book, and so that's it. It's one thing for friends who you known for years to say they enjoy your books. Another thing for people who you don't know said they enjoy the book.
Absolutely. It's reassuring, and it makes you feel good. And
yeah.
You need that, because it's kind of a lonely business, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
For sure. As far as promotion, what do you do to promote your books? Do you have any advice on using social media? Because that's a big thing where, just years ago, people didn't have that ability to even do any self-promotion.
Basically, don't spam at social media. Don't write 50 posts a day saying, hey, buy my book, hey, buy my book. The first thing, one of the things I've read is with social media, first thing you want to write, put helpful hints on helping people on how to improve the writing. So probably 80% helpful hints and maybe 10 to 20% buy my book type of post.
And that's what you do on your website, all of the very helpful posts. And that's the first thing that comes up on your website, which I thought was very refreshing. You don't often see that. It's most often, hey, here's my book. And here's where you can get it. So you stood out to me as being a little different and in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are there any other writing tips you want to share today?
Probably the most important thing is just don't give up on your writing. If it's something you want to do, don't give up on it. That's probably the most important tip that I can give to other writers and stuff.
The process is so intense and it's so long that you don't know what's going to come out at the back end. So you really have to make a commitment to see this thing through before you even get any kind of feedback.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's not many other things that you do in life where you just pour your whole soul. It's kind of a deep well it comes from, and you're laying it all out there and just hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Wow. So we asked what was next. You're doing the sequels to this book. Do you think there's going to be any other books in the future, any other glimmers in your mind that are not associated with No Remorse, No Regret?
Possibly. I've had a couple ideas for post-apocalypse type books and stuff like that. And one set during an ice age, another one, and stuff like that. Okay. I'm coming up with those ideas, and a lot of it's just sometimes an idea would come to you and you'd put it on like the note part of my smartphone or a notebook and stuff like that when I'm out or something. But the two biggest things would probably be a story about set in an ice age or something.
Wow. Don't you wonder where these ideas come from?
Sometimes.
Oh my gosh. It's always fascinating to me where a person never lived in the ice age. Like, why would that be on your radar?
A lot of it was a couple of years ago in Nova Scotia. We made the joke that every Wednesday we'd have a major snowstorm or something. And so you're trying to drive to work and you're basically caught in a snowstorm and you're stuck at work in a snowstorm, so you couldn't get home. So that was where the idea for that came from.
See, I dug it out of you, didn't I?
Yeah.
I might have to write about the ice age. I'm in Northeast Ohio, and we are still getting lake effect snow. It has just been snowing and snowing all winter. So I might have an ice age story somewhere inside of me as well.
Yeah.
Well, we've kind of moved around different areas here. Is there anything we missed that you wanted to talk about today?
Off the top, no, nothing missed, no.
All right. Well, we did a good job then. We mentioned your website. That's one place folks can go to learn more about you and purchase your books. Any other places or social media that you want to promote?
Well, my books are available currently only on Amazon. But anywhere else, they can also I also have a YouTube channel, which they just look for my name there. On Twitter under the tag Scotia Writer. With Pinterest under Worrell and Instagram under Ian Worrell Author. Goodreads, it's Ian_Worrell.
Okay, all righty. And the main website is ianworrellauthor.com. IANWORRALL. So there's 2 R's, 2 L's. Author.com. ianworrellauthor.com. The title of the book is No Remorse No Regret. Any final words before we sign off here?
Not at all. Just good luck to everybody in their endeavors.
You're a good guy. Thank you so much for sharing you and your book with us today. And maybe when your sequel comes out, we can do this again.
Yeah, definitely.